Carolina offers scholarships to nearly every elite player, so it's a no-brainer to extend one to the leading scorer from the NBPA Top 100 camp. Let's talk about him.
This is Tyler Hansbrough, and you're listening to Locked On Tar Heels.
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? It's Monday, June 16th, 2025. Welcome into the Locked On Tar Heels podcast, the only daily North Carolina show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Schade, and you're joining me at the place to get your Tar Heels content every single day. It's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you for making us your first listen or watch to get your Monday going the right way. This episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Special shout out. What's up, all you everydayers, all the Locked On Tar Heels Discord members, and our Locked On Tar Heels insiders. Welcome into all of you. Let's get after it. Coming up on the show today, we're going to be talking about Qayden Samuels, another one of the elite players in the class of 26 and Carolina's most recent offer. Want to talk now, we discussed the Kentucky game last Friday, so now we want to talk about scheduling and the timing of the final three non-con games and when they might fall. The athletics here is now officially done with the track and field finals over. Also, Jake Knapp gets a vindicating award. We'll talk about that coming up later on the show. But let's start right here. Hubert Davis, we've talked about this, by the way, multiple times on the show, so this is nothing new to those of you who are around here all the time. But Hubert Davis has made it a trend to cast a wide net in offering nearly every elite player in the high school recruiting class. For the 2025 class, the guys that are going to be freshmen this year, the Caleb Wilson, the Dennis Dixon, the Isaiah Dennis, that class. Coach Williams, that's Freudian. Coach Davis basically offered nearly all the guys that were 5 stars, even a couple who were just right on the fringe of it. And basically all you landed was Caleb Wilson. But even when I say all, let me remind us that you're not going to get all or most or even a couple. You're going to get one, maybe two. And then you're going to backfill that with a couple guys that are probably 4 stars, maybe high 3s, who might stay around and develop a while. And that's what Carolina has accomplished in this 2025 class. You got Caleb Wilson, one of the elite 5 stars, and then you got Dixon and Dennis, guys around 50 who project to be really, really strong basketball players that are great college level basketball players that could blossom into more, but are guys that might stay around for a couple of years. Well, what Carolina is doing again in the class of 26, the rising seniors, is offering essentially the elite of the elite all over the place. And then they'll eventually backfill, because right now, all the guys they've offered are those elite players. And the most recent addition to that list, Qayden Samuels, the young man that just led the NBPA Top 100 camp, which finished up on Friday, in scoring. They have now offered him. He had 26.4 points a game. He's been doing really well on the EYBL circuit this summer. He was on, obviously, if you're the leading scorer, this is almost a no-brainer, but he was on the camp first team along with a guy named Baba Aludatan. Aziz Elijah one. Yes, that Elijah one. Point guard Talon Kinney, who Carolina has offered. Point guard Darren Rippey Jr., who Carolina has offered. And then the MVP of the whole thing was point guard Dylan Mingo, who Carolina has also offered. So when I say Carolina has offered the elite of the elite, there you go. There's just a nice little example of that, of the top, basically the guys that were honored as the top 6 players at this camp. Carolina has already offered 4 of those 6. Tar Heel Illustrated had reported earlier last week, I think it was Wednesday, they had talked to his mom. She confirmed that Carolina had been in contact. And then on Sunday, I actually woke up to the news on Father's Day from Dushan London, who does recruiting stuff for 247 Sports. He reported that Carolina had officially offered Qayden Samuels. And so now we can talk about him more. Let's get to know him. What would he offer and how could Carolina use him? So again, he is a rising senior, class of 2026 at the 4 major recruiting sites. He is 10th at ESPN. That's where he's highest. 15th at On3. That's the next highest. 21 at Rivals. and 22nd at 247. So a range of 10 to 22, all of which, I mean, he's elite, guys, very, very elite. And after a performance like this, he's going to keep going up. I'm curious to see how he continues to do in EYBL this summer. Also, as a reminder, On Three and Rivals are going to be one and the same coming soon. For AAU, by the way, he plays for Team Takeover. Another player that Carolina has offered is Jordan Smith, who also plays for Team Takeover. So again, there you go. Another 5-star just out there doing it. Samuels is initially from South Jersey, but he plays now at Bishop McNamara High School in Maryland, but really it's the greater DC area. He's just east of the Washington, DC border there. He's a small forward, 6'5", 200 pounds, some nice, good requisite size there. And Carolina, a little bit late to the game. A lot of the teams in that Maryland area, Georgetown, Rutgers, Villanova, for example, have been in the mix a while longer. A bunch of other offers. I think Kansas is the only other blue blood right now. But Michigan, Illinois, Texas, Tennessee, West Virginia, Virginia Tech, Georgia Tech, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so there's a whole host of people that want him. Of course, he's a top 10, top 25 player in this class. Let me get to some observations about Samuels, because that's why we're here. You don't need me to just rattle off information. First thing that stands out to me that I notice in watching his game, watching his highlights, because it is me, is that he's a lefty. And southpaws, just because we are so unique, so few southpaws in athletics, anytime you do get them, it's a nice little extra cherry on top. It's not a necessity, but boy, do they stand out. I mean, think about, you're so used to going up to block a shot from a right-hander, and then at the last second, you got to try to get out, right? So it's a scouting report thing. You got to get it buried in your head, but so rare that when you do have a lefty, you got to almost adjust in real time there, and that's difficult. If you're a split second late on adjusting, boom. Excuse me, I'm yawning. The lefty has got you beat. And so that's one of the nice things. Another reason that Kaden Samuels can have you beat is not just because he's left-handed, but this dude has a quick trigger. Pull up, off the dribble, off the screen, whatever it is, boom, he's up. There's a video, one of the gajillion things I've watched on him. I can't even remember which one it is now, but he's just out top dribbling, and boom, all of a sudden he's up and gone. I mean, it's crazy how quick it is when he needs to be. And in addition to that, it's a high release he's got on his jumper. So the quick trigger nature of it, the left-handed nature of it, and the high release of it, you're not blocking his shot. And that shot that goes in, oh, by the way, I might add. But then let's just keep building these layers. I also like about Kaden Samuels that an area, in fact, in which he's grown more is he used to kind of, like watching some older tape on him, would kind of prod the paint and just tiptoe around with it. Now, man, he is in attack mode. He's getting to the rim, and you don't want to mess with it, right? In one EYBL game, I think it was this session 1 of this summer against the Utah Prospects, he had this crazy transition dunk where it's like, just get out of the way. Don't mess with it. And then one other thing I'll say I really like that he can do is he, as a small forward, is a great self-creator, right? One of the things you're looking for is guys that can make plays for themselves, not to have to be reliant on an Elliot Cadeau or now a Kyan Evans or whomever it is, right? Guys that can operate with the ball in their hands just is another modern move to help everybody be better. And so Kaden Samuels already brings that to the table as well. Now, I don't want to just offer positives that he would bring to the table with some areas of growth for Kaden Samuels. Number one, I love his attack mode. I love his determination. I love his self-creation. I love his get to the rim. But he does need, like from what I can tell at this point in his game, he has to find the balance of that. There's a difference in shot hunting for self and attacking to either finish or distribute, or to get the kick out. And if they close, boom, you keep the ball going. From what I've seen of Kaden Samuels, he needs to have a better balance of that at this point in his game, of when to call his own number and when to call that number of his teammates. That's just going to make him even better when he gets to that realization. And part of that, why I want to hold him to that or call it out, is because when you are as good a playmaker as he is, you can make yourself even better if you can make plays not just for yourself, but for others. And that's the next level for him right now. One other next level for him right now, like I mentioned, that insane transition dunk that he had. But interestingly, he's not Mr. All Elite athleticism in the Seth Trimble sort of way. He can get up, he can throw it down, he can drop the alley oop, but just watch his dunks, and you feel the difference in him rising up versus a Drake Powell or a Seth Trimble, right? So he is an athlete, but it's not the elite level that we look at sometimes at the NBA-ish level. And with his other skill sets, being a small forward, that's not going to stop him necessarily from getting to the NBA. I'm just saying that is not where his best skill set lies, as being like all athlete, uber elite dude, right? That's just not necessarily what he does. He's long, he's lengthy, and he's got good positional size, so that helps. But those are two areas, one of growth, one of just like, hey, if you don't got it, you don't got it when it comes to the athleticism. So there you go. Qayden Samuels, somebody to definitely keep your eye on. But again, Carolina continues to offer a wide spread a wide net when it comes to making these offers. So I just do my best to keep you up to date on them. And as more news comes out or as guys move Carolina along or delete them, we'll continue to talk about them. But Qayden Samuels, next one in line. So where we want to go next, on Friday, we discussed the recently announced ACC-SEC Challenge matchup between Carolina and Kentucky. So what does that mean for the totality of Carolina's non-con? Is it spicier? Is it better balance? Where are things at? We'll get to that coming up in just a second. Right after I tell you about game time, y'all, there's nothing like the NBA playoffs, or specifically right now, the NBA finals, man. The intensity, the buzzer beaters, the fans losing their minds, the teams winning on the road like we've been seeing in this series. It's the kind of atmosphere you have to get to live. And man, have these matchups delivered in a big way. So if you want in, Game Time makes it fast and easy to get seats, even for these biggest playoff games. And prices on the app, they actually go down the closer you get to tip-off. Tonight is a great example for that. And they've got killer last-minute deals. They've got panoramic seat views, no surprise fees. And with all that, Game Time is a total game changer. I love that I can see my exact view from my seat before I buy. No surprises when you get there. And the app makes it so easy to get these tickets. 2 taps and you're done. And with Game Time Guarantee, you know that you're going to get the best deal. If you find a better price in the same section, same row, Game Time is going to credit you 110% of the difference. Game 5 is tonight back in OKC. The series tied at 2, and I kid you not, you can get in the door for $383. That includes your fees, everything. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Terms apply. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. On Friday, we talked about North Carolina's matchup at Kentucky in the ACC-SEC Challenge. And so while the non-con schedule, as I keep it, is essentially nearly done, if you look on Carolina's schedule on the website, it actually only offers 4 non-con games currently. Both games of the Fort Myers tip-off, St. Bonaventure game and the Michigan State game on Thanksgiving Day, the Kentucky game, and then Ohio State in the CBS Sports Classic in December. So part of the question is, okay, now that we know that game is Kentucky, we assumed it would be a high-level SEC team, but until you see who it is, you just never know. So, previously we've talked about, like, it was a couple weeks ago when Riley Davis was on with us, like, how is this schedule, right? Is it looking like something that Carolina, is it like a cop-out? Is it a little bit easier to try to work with the net? Is it just a wise thing to do as you bring a bunch of guys together? Well, of the games we know right now, from a high major standpoint, Carolina has Kansas, Michigan State, Kentucky, Ohio State, Georgetown, and an exhibition with BYU. That's 5 regular season games in 1 exhibition. As for bye games or bye game level kind of stuff, Central Arkansas, Radford, Navy, the St. Bonaventure's game in the Fort Myers tip-off, USC Upstate, ECU, and NC Central. Now, don't take St. Bonaventure for granted. They're no walkover, but they're not high major. So that then is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 bi-level games to 5 regular season high major games, 6 if you include the exhibition with BYU. And so as I look at that, I like where that balance is. And I'm very curious to see, because there are a couple things we're waiting on and only 2 unknown opponents, one of which is regular season, the other exhibition. So the things we're still waiting on, the NC Central game, we don't yet have a date for that. We don't yet have a specific date for the Georgetown game, although John Rothstein's reporting is that it would be sometime in December. And then there's one unknown non-conference game, both in terms of opponent and date. As a reminder, we thought we had the whole thing, and then the ACC announced the reduction to 18 conference games, meaning 2 more non-con games. And so where we sit right now, there are 12. So we're waiting on one more. Also, reminder, you get 2 exhibitions, and the new thing with that. So Carolina last year played Memphis and Johnson C. Smith. So the question now, will Carolina continue to do that, or 2 higher level exhibition teams to better prepare themselves? They're going to BYU. I'd love to see them play a home game against another high major opponent, whether it's that 13th non-con game or the exhibition or both. I think that would be great. And then as a reminder, last year they played a blue-white scrimmage inter-squad as well. That was scheduled to be down in the Asheville area, west of Asheville. I forget specifically where. And because of the unfortunate storm, they had to bring that back to the Smith Center. So that's what we're waiting on. And I think ultimately, once we get those final couple opponents, we'll have a better idea of like, how is this balance? Because you don't want it to be a complete pansy schedule, but you also, again, you don't want to recreate the hole you dug for yourself last year if you're Carolina. So that's a balance, and we'll have to see what happens. A couple other schedule notes really quick as we're talking about it. Number one, initially the Kansas game, remember this year is the second year of the Kansas home and home series, last year at Allen Fieldhouse on the first Friday of the season. This year it was scheduled to be Friday, November 14th, the second Friday of the season. But then recently Kansas put out their non-con schedule and lists the game as November 7th. So I've adjusted it in our stuff to say November 7th at home. And that, again, is the first Friday of the season. So there's that. And then the BYU exhibition had been reported, but hadn't been confirmed by any Carolina sources. Well, on Friday, Adam Smith of Inside Carolina said that they had that game confirmed by sources. So we know that that's fully a go. Also, with the Fort Myers games, we know that it's going to be St. Bonaventure on Tuesday of Thanksgiving week, Michigan State Thursday of Thanksgiving week. And it says on the website that tip times are going to be announced officially, and that's an important word, in coming weeks. And the reason I say that, and the reason they say that, if you don't find this unless you click through. Each fan base can click through to get like the travel fan package. And when you do so, it actually has the projected times for the 2 games. So Tuesday against St. Bonaventure at 6 p.m. and then Thursday on Thanksgiving against Michigan State at 4:30 p.m. I believe after the Lions football game, if I remember correctly, is the goal for that, so that they can keep that Michigan watch party going on, or whatever you want to say, from the Lions to Michigan State. That's kind of the goal there. And so we'll see what happens. But they say on there that schedule could change, but right now they project St. Bonaventure 6 on Tuesday and Michigan State 4:30 on Thursday. Speaking of which, this is officially out on the Carolina site. The travel packages for the Fort Myers tip-off are now available, and that's a pretty cool thing. It's not open to the public yet, just the fan bases of the teams, so you can go in and get what you want. They got all sorts of hotel options, but one of which is the hotel the team will be at, various levels of ticketing and all that stuff. So if you get one of those official travel packages, you get tickets to both Carolina games, hotel accommodations, and parking at the arena. So it's a great deal, and you can be right there at the same hotel as the team. So there are those 3 non-con games that we don't know when they're going to be played yet. The unknown team, the Georgetown game, and the NC Central game. So when might those be? What about the other exhibition? We'll look at all that coming up in just a second. So I want to take a second to kind of postulate when these other games might be played that we don't know the schedule for yet. First off, assuming there is another exhibition, Carolina is slated to play BYU in late October. And so I'm expecting an announcement of another exhibition game earlier in October, along with the inter squad blue-white game that we'll see. And so we'll look for that. As for the 3 non-con games that we don't know the date for yet, again, that is, we expect Georgetown to be in just sometime in December. We expect the NC Central game. We don't have a date for that. And then a yet as to be named opponent. So looking at the schedule right now, and again, you can go find the non-con on my Twitter feed. It's on there. I've posted it in our Locked On Tar Heels Discord feed as well, Discord, and so you can find it there. There's a few slots in Carolina's schedule that lend themselves quite obviously to a game being played. So Carolina doesn't play from Tuesday, November 11th through Tuesday, November 18th. So that's a full week off between Radford and Navy. So there's a slot, maybe, that Friday or Saturday. What would that be? Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 12, 13, 14. That Friday would be November 14th or Saturday the 15th. There's a slot for a game. Similarly, the very next week, Tuesday, November 18th, Carolina plays Navy. And then the 25th of November is when they're in Fort Myers to play St. Bonaventure. So there could be a game in between there as well. Maybe another weekend looking thing. Friday, Saturday would be something great before you go to Fort Myers. And so there's those couple gaps. You've got another gap from Tuesday, December 2nd. That's when Carolina is at Rep Arena to play Kentucky. And Saturday, December 13th, when Carolina will host USC Upstate. I will say, though, that is when the early season ACC game is that weekend in between, which would be Saturday, December 6th or Sunday, December 7th. We have the ACC opponents, but we don't yet have the ACC schedule out. And so my presumption will continue to be what it's been, that there will be an ACC game in between there on either December 6th or 7th, Saturday or Sunday. And then last year, the finals break was that week between what would be the 6th and 7th to the 13th here, with that game against USC Upstate coming on the backside of Carolina's final break. If that's the case, Carolina then would have a big break from Saturday, December 13th, when they play USC Upstate, until Saturday the 20th, when they play Ohio State in Atlanta. So you don't have to go very far for CBS Sports Classic this year. So that'd be a great opportunity between the 13th and 20th for one of those games there. And then another option I'll add is Carolina's last scheduled game right now is Monday, December 22nd against ECU. Last year, their first ACC game of the main chunk of ACC games was on New Year's Day on January 1st. So if that's the case, you've got from Monday, December 22nd until January 1st, in that range to play another game. So several breaks in there, and you just got to get 3 games in there somewhere. So somewhere, Carolina's going to have a week off, whether it's November 11th to 18th, the 18th to the 25th, December 13th to 20th, or sometime the 22nd to around the beginning of the year. So it's those 4 gaps where I expect the games to be, and we will wait and see what happens and who that final opponent is. So that's the kind of things I'm looking at right now. But just wanted to continue to update you on the schedule. That's fun for me to kind of base things off of previous schedules and what does that mean and what do we expect. So most of that you can kind of take to the bank is going to happen. Obviously things change from time to time, but more often than not, when I said Carolina is going to play an SEC opponent in the ACC SEC Challenge on either this Tuesday or Wednesday, boom, that's exactly what happened. Kentucky on that Tuesday. So, again, almost all the time it's correct. So stick with me on those things. A couple things from a couple other sports. Obviously, the baseball team lost, unfortunately, last week to Arizona in the Super Regional. Arizona got booted in similar fashion to how they beat us, and they lost on Father's Day. So wasn't too terribly upset about that. But Jake Knapp clearly was the best pitcher in the nation this year, or, the most productive pitcher in the nation, I guess is how I want to say it. Perfect Game put out their All-American teams last week, I think it was. And inexplicably, dumbly, I don't know what phrase I want to use, but inaccurately, Jake Knapp was on their second team. And it's always that weird thing with these kind of things. Are you going off of actual production or off of like draft projections or strikes out the most guys or whatever it is? Like what are the criteria you're using to make these decisions? Whatever it is the Perfect Game uses, they put Jake Knapp on their second team. I was dumbfounded. And then there was this perfect bit of news that we got. I believe it was back on Friday. The College Baseball Foundation named their National Pitcher of the Year Jake Knapp. He can't even make the first team All-American for Perfect Game, but he's the National Pitcher of the Year for Division I for College Baseball Foundation. Thank you. And I think I tweeted something to the effect of, this makes Perfect Game's decision to put him on second team even more laughable. The fact that he is not only on first team, but the National Pitcher of the Year, like the dude. That is what it should be. And that is well-deserved by Jake Knapp. I just chuckled at Perfect Game. And here's where I admit, like as glass half full as I am, I have no problem being petty and holding grudges about stuff like that. And if it's me just giving into rage bait, fine. I don't even care sometimes. Like that, I'm going to save that for Tuesday's show. But I allowed myself to be rage baited on Father's Day. And so we'll get to that. Finally, track and field finished up this weekend. And, I'll give you some results in a second. But what that means is that is the last events of the 24-25 academic year for Carolina athletics. So that officially ties a bow on the athletics for the 2024-25 season. So as I often do at some point this summer, usually I've done it like right as we get to the week that hinges July and August, because, August we're starting into camp and other stuff. I guess maybe I should do it when we hinge from June to July, because that's when like the new fiscal year starts. But anyway, at some point, I'll do the top 10 storylines back from this past academic year. That's just fun to look at. We'll do some honorable mentions with that as well. But with track wrapping up, that's it for the year. So the men finished 17th overall in the nation. That's their best finish since 2007. A couple big time results in the 1500 meter. Ethan Strand finished second. And I mean, had there been 10 meters more, this dude wins the national championship. He was way in the back of the pack. He used that famous kick to get all the way out to the front, but just ran out of real estate trying to catch up. Finished in second by 0.07 seconds, like 700ths of a second. I mean, again, that's why I say just 10 more meters, this dude wins. He just ran out of space, but was making a move. But still, second place. Phenomenal stuff from Ethan, who just has had an incredible season, an incredible career. The men's national indoor track athlete of the year. Crazy stuff. In shot put, Tommy Kitchell finishes second in the nation. He was fifth heading into the last throw, and just a doozy, a PR for him. Great stuff there. On the women's side, they finished 34th overall. Michaela Page, for the fourth time this season, sets the Carolina record in the 800 meters. 158.97 was her time this time around. Fifth fastest time in NCAA history. Crazy stuff. As a reminder, she won the 800 national championship at the indoors and was the ACC, indoor women's track athlete of the year. So first in the 800 indoors, second outdoor. I mean, just crazy performance from Michaela. That's great stuff. Again, it's been a great year for North Carolina. Several individual national championships, and then women's soccer and women's lacrosse on team national championships. Such a bummer. Field hockey didn't get it done this year. I thought they were on pace to go back to back in Coach's first 2 years there for Coach Aaron Matson, but not meant to be. Let's do it next year. So now the long waiting comes, right? It's June 16th. Can it please be August? Can we get this thing going? Can't wait, but we'll start a countdown and we'll get there soon enough. I'll be with you all summer long, just giving you, the content you want and you need along the way to keep you going and getting ready for next year. We'll do some fun things, some mailbags, interviews. If you've got things you want to talk about, please let me know, and I'd love to get that going. Thanks for joining me to start off a brand new week of Locked On Tar Heels. It's been great to be together. If you've not subscribed to the show, go ahead and do that. If you've not joined the Locked On Tar Heels Discord, that link's in the show notes, free to join. If you want to go deeper, join the Locked On Tar Heels Insider Program, get all sorts of fun perks and direct communication with me as well. That link is also in the show notes. Y'all, it's always a great day to be a Tar Heel. We'll talk again tomorrow, but until then, peace.